Well, I know you all love these videos where I say so-and-so is wrong about something related to the DCU. Well, this one is going to be no different. That's right, I'm talking about harsh critics today. Harsh critics is totally wrong about Superman. Well, that's what I'm going to get into here. Look, I don't really know who this guy is. I've had a couple people in my comment section reach out to me, say, you got to watch Harsh Critics. You got to listen to Harsh Critics. You got to listen to Harsh Critics. You got to go watch his videos. And this has been months. I just kind of been putting it off. Like I just didn't want to listen to anything. Didn't want to go out there, look at his stuff or anything like that. And then the other day, I got a message that said, Slav, you got to go watch this. I'm 90% sure that he's talking about you in his latest video. All right, I'll go watch it. So I went over and checked it out, and it was this video here. This in particular video, boycotting James Gunn's Superman is not toxic. It seems like it's a response to my video where I talked about boycotting this movie is toxic. Kind of seems fitting because this video came up literally hours after mine did, just a few hours after mine did. So I watched it, and I'm going to be completely honest. He doesn't call me out by name, anything like that. He doesn't specifically say that, Slav's free talk, anything, which is fine. I don't care. I don't need him to call out my name. And I even state in the comment section that this may not have even been about me or my video. The problem that I see with this here is he goes through a plethora of information and reasons with why he thinks XYZ with the Superman movie coming out and DCU and James Gunn. And it is such a weird take. It is a weird take. It really is. Look, like I said, I don't know him from Adam. I don't know him at all. He could be a stand-up guy. And that's what I found out with some of these people that I end up calling out. I have a conversation with them, and we have a lot of similar interest with things. But it's just this one thing that we don't have interest in. So that could very well happen with Harsh Critics and myself. But I'm going to start off here. He starts off the video really talking about why boycotting the film is not toxic. And if he watched my video by any chance, if it was a response to my video, I'm guessing he didn't watch my video or listen to my video. I noticed that in my comments for that specific video I made, because I specifically say in the video, boycotting is not toxic. You can boycott something and not be toxic, but it's the reasons behind it. It's the way people are going about it that have been toxic. I don't care if you go and watch Superman or not. Now, I also say I do believe that all of you people who are saying wallets closed are absolutely going to see this movie. Whether it's on July 11th, 12th, 13th, or in August, something. You all are going to see it because you can't help yourselves. I know you're going to have to watch it. You have to, because you need to be part of the zeitgeist. You need to be part of everything and know what's going on. And I know you're going to watch it. But that's besides the point. I don't care if you do or not. You don't have to, because it's going to be successful without you. He then says that we DC fans, the DCU fans, are getting nervous. And that's why we're talking about this. That's why we're starting to bring up things like boycotting is toxic and the wallets closed movement is toxic. No, I couldn't care less. I say all the time that I have felt that there was an obligation for me to call out the toxic side of the Snyder fandom. I was part of the Snyder fandom for quite some time. I was part of it for a number of years. When I started to see how toxic that fandom was, I stepped aside, I stepped out of it, and I started calling out the toxicity from it because I thought it was ridiculous. It was asinine. It was disgusting. And I stepped out of it. Look, I'm a fan of Zack Snyder's work. I will watch his movies anytime he puts one out. And I will say if it's not good. Like the Rebel Moon movies, they weren't for me. They weren't good. That doesn't mean I'm not going to see his next movie and his next movie and his next movie. I'm a fan of his. I will absolutely watch his films. But the fandom? No. No, the fandom has turned toxic. Full stop. And I know a lot of people don't like hearing the word toxic because it's just thrown around so much. But I truly, truly believe that fandom has become toxic. So I, like I said, felt like I had an obligation because I was part of that fandom. And I did for a little while there. I had this talk with Real Anarchy the other day before the show that he and I were on the Watchtower a couple weeks ago. He had a buddy of his who did his show with him a few years ago. And I was like, look, man, I was pretty much a dick back then to his buddy. And we were all part of the Snyder fandom at the time. But I was an asshole to his buddy back then. That's just how that fandom was. It was atrocious. It was terrible. And when I realized what was going on, I pulled myself out and felt an obligation to try and stop that toxicity, try to point it out and show their hypocrisy. So that's kind of why I do what I do. And whether it's right or wrong, whether you agree with it or not, I don't care. It's what I'm doing. He then calls them us, I should say, the DC fans, the YouTubers. He says that we're paid shills. He says we're James Gunn suckers. Says that we're mad that the consumers are fighting back. Well, first off, we're consumers also. We're going to be consuming this movie. We're going to be consuming the merchandise. As you see, I wear the Superman t-shirts. I bought the upcoming, the new revision of the Action Comics #1 that's coming out next week. I got all of this stuff. I'm a consumer as well. I'm excited about what's coming because I love this stuff. I love DC. I've been a DC fan for most of my life. I'm a consumer. I'm not mad at consumers. What I'm mad about is the hypocrisy and the toxicity coming out of that specific fandom. He then says that fans need to be treated with respect in regards to how DC is handling, I should say DC Studios, James Gunn, and Warner Brothers is handling everything. Well, I get it. People need to handle this stuff with respect and do things properly, but let's step back for a minute, okay? Let's step back for a minute. I understand in 2017, even in 2021, that kind of stuff, that was a different regime. Things were not handled well, but now James Gunn is handling it fine. He's doing things respectfully. He's doing things fine. He's doing the job that he was put in place to do, that he's meant to do. There's no disrespect. Like, sure, maybe he shouldn't have called Den of Nerds, Josh from Den of Nerds, what he did. He shouldn't have said what he said to him about living in his mom's basement. Okay, maybe he shouldn't have said what he said to Grace Randolph. I agree. But besides that, there isn't much else that he's done that is not very savvy. But then again, I also think Josh deserved it and Grace Randolph deserved it. I really do think that. That's just my opinion. Now, he says that the Snyder fans are the majority. No, buddy, they're the minority. They really are. They are the minority. They are loud. They are loud. He talks about how they put hashtags out all the time. Look, I was part of the fandom. I've said that many times. And I was asked many times through so many of those movements to go on those apps where you can schedule out tweets. And for months, for like every day, like they would tell me, schedule, like go this day and schedule 15 tweets for this day. And then the next day, do another 15. And like they were asking me to just schedule out tweets. So there would be hundreds of tweets getting posted on those days that they would schedule out for the movements. So hundreds and hundreds of tweets would go out those days. It's all manufactured. It's not all real tweets. They're manufactured tweets. It is what it is. That's why you can't trust these whole hashtag things. Look, it's all fun and games to see things trending. It's cool to see that stuff. But studios have recognized, and partially because of the Snyder movement, that you can't trust that stuff. You just can't. Now, he then says they gave Snyder almost $100 million to finish the Snyder Cut. But what does that have to do with anything? Like, you keep going back and forth in this video specifically about, oh, they gave Snyder $100 million. Are you trying to say because they gave Snyder $100 million that they should obviously continue the Snyderverse? Well, here's my thing that I want to tell you. If studios believe that something will be successful, they're going to continue it. They're not going to leave money on the table. They're not going to just leave it lay there and not get as much money as possible, especially David Zaslav. Do you see what he's been doing? He's been trashing stuff that is trash, trying to make the studio as much money as possible. If they truly believe that they could make money from Zack Snyder's Snyderverse, they would have done it. They would have done it. But they know that it was too divisive and it's too risky to do. Full stop. Full stop. And it sucks because I'm a fan of the Snyderverse. And it sucks because I would love to have seen it. But the fact of the matter is, it's too risky and it's not a guaranteed thing like you believe it is. The crazier thing is that Gunn needs to take the baggage from those previous regimes that screwed everybody over. That Gunn needs to take the baggage because he's now head of DC Studios. And then says, hey, life's not fair. He needs to take that baggage. Look, the last two regimes are the last two regimes. David Zaslav and Gunn have nothing to do with what they did there. Nothing. They are now in charge of this studio. They have to make do with what they have in front of them. They don't need to look back and handle what happened before. Sure, there's going to be directors, there's going to be filmmakers that don't want to work with DC because of what happened, or with Warner Brothers because of what happened before. Look at Christopher Nolan, for instance. But the problem is they have to deal with that themselves in moving forward. They can restructure that relationship, absolutely. And it sucks that they have that little bit of baggage. But from the fans, yeah, I mean, the fans need to be a little more forgiving. The fans need to sit back and say, look, I understand Jeff Johns screwed this up. Josh Whedon screwed this up. Walter Hamada screwed this up. You know, whomever it was that screwed it up, we as fans can sit back and realize that. From a business standpoint, like Christopher Nolan, that was a little bit different because that's his livelihood. It's not our livelihood. We're just fans of cape shit here. All right? We don't need to sit there and say, oh, because James Gunn's in charge, he needs to be held responsible for what happened 10 years ago under a completely different regime. How does that make any sense? It doesn't. It doesn't. Use your head a little bit. Use your head a little bit. But the craziest thing is, because with that you say, it's just the way it is. Life's not fair. Well, you say life's not fair, but then you sit there and can't accept that the Snyderverse is over. Life's not fair, buddy. Things end. Stories end. Life's not fair. You have to move on sometimes. It goes both ways. You can't say life's not fair for one person and then sit there and act like a child, whining and crying, stomping your feet, wishing that you get something and throwing your hands up in the air, throwing a tantrum. I want this, I want this, I want this. And not take the advice that, hey, life's not fair. Because guess what, buddy? Life's not fair. And you don't always get what you want. So you move on. That's how it is. Look, there's a lot more I could go over here. I've been talking for over 12 minutes already about this. One of the other things that I think is crazy, though, is you say that you don't care who gets fired. You don't care who gets fired. That you and some of your buddies here who say, well, it's closed, don't care who gets fired. Where's the artistic integrity here? Where is your excitement in wanting an artist to be successful? Look, you don't need to like James Gunn. You don't need to like any of that. But to sit there and act like James Gunn should not get the same artistic integrity that we fought for Zack Snyder to get, that's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. It is. It's terrible. It's a terrible way to act. That is the hypocrisy that I talk about. James Gunn's hired to do a job. He has the right to have that artistic integrity that we fought for Zack Snyder, that we were fighting for David Ayer, that we were fighting for Patty Jenkins. No, but not to you, because you don't get your beloved Snyderverse that we were never even promised to get from the beginning. Never promised to get. Sure, if you understand anything about film, things get planned. Things always get planned. It's never promised. Hell, it's not even promised to the directors. It's not promised to the filmmakers. They understand that. Why can't you? Do you understand anything about film? You do a little commentary thing. Maybe you should sit back and learn a bit about the industry before you start talking about it. That might be a good idea. Finally, I will leave on this. You say you can't have a successful movie with divided fans. This one made me laugh when you said it. I legitimately lost it, dude. Like, are you a comedian? Like, are you trying to be a comedian with your show or with your videos? Because did you see the divisiveness of Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman? You can't have a successful film if your fans are divided. So why are we where we're at with DC right now? Because there were divisive films. And because there were divisive films, they weren't, hold on, I think you can get this one. Successful. That's right. Yeah, they weren't successful. Okay. I feel like Dora the Explorer. Grab the map, grab the map, grab the map, whatever the hell it is, you know. Anyways, so here's the thing, okay? Here's the thing. You can't have a successful movie if the fan base is divided, like you say. Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman were divisive. They weren't good. The rest of the DCEU, I should say, the DCEU was not successful. They were divisive. So they're starting fresh and new. They're trying something new. Yet you want to go back to the divisiveness that there was. How does that make sense? First off, Superman may not be divisive. The general audience may love it. The DC fans may love it. The Snyderverse fans may hate it, but that's a minority. So they may hate it. They may not love it. It doesn't matter if the minority hates it. But if the general audience and the DC fans love it, and it's successful, if the critics love it, if the audience loves it, if it makes decent money, that's a success, and it's going to move forward. But if it's divisive, you might be right. They may have to cancel the DCU at some point because it is also divisive and not successful. There's no denying that. But to sit there and say you can't have a successful movie with a divisive fandom and then sit there and push for the return of a divisive film franchise, what? Come on, man. You can't be serious. Think before you talk. Think before you talk, honestly. But I just wanted to talk about this. I thought it'd be a little fun. Let me know your thoughts on the comments below on all of this whole thing. And with all that said, I'll catch you all later.